It's 3:14 a.m. You're staring at the ceiling, your phone screen is burning your retinas, and you're feeling that familiar heavy pit of guilt in your stomach because you know your alarm is set for 5 a.m. You've seen the videos. You've seen the aesthetic montages of creators waking up in crisp white sheets, drinking lemon water, and meditating before the sun even thinks about coming up. You've told yourself that tomorrow is the day you finally join the 5 a.m. club and fix your life. But let's be honest, when that alarm actually hits, you don't feel inspired. You feel like you're being hit by a freight train. You hit snooze once, then twice, then 5 times, and by the time you actually crawl out of bed at 10 a.m., you've already decided the day is a wash. You've failed before you even started. I know that feeling because I lived it for 2 years straight. I thought being a morning person was the only way to be successful, but trying to force it was actually the thing making me a failure. Then I stopped. I quit the 5 a.m. club, and strangely enough, my productivity didn't just stay the same, it doubled. We've been sold a lie that productivity is tied to a specific hour on the clock. We see these grind-set influencers telling us that if we aren't awake while our competition is sleeping, we're losing. But what they don't tell you is that forcing a 5 a.m. wake-up call when your biology is screaming for sleep is the fastest way to trigger a cognitive burnout that lasts all day. If you're a student or a young creator, your brain is literally wired differently. Forcing that early start is like trying to run high-end software on a laptop with a dying battery. You might get it to boot up, but it's going to lag, crash, and eventually overheat. The secret isn't waking up early. The secret is finding your prime time window. This is the specific block of hours where your brain actually wants to work. And for most of us, it's nowhere near 5 a.m. Let's look at the science of chronotypes. Most of the productivity world is built by lions, people who naturally peak at 6 a.m. But a huge percentage of us are wolves or bears. If you're a wolf, your brain doesn't even fully turn on until 2 p.m. By trying to work at 5 a.m., you are fighting millions of years of biological evolution. You aren't being disciplined, you're being masochistic. I spent years thinking I was lazy because I couldn't focus at dawn. I would sit at my desk staring at a blank Google Doc, feeling my eyes glaze over while the 5 a.m. gurus in my head screamed that I just didn't want it bad enough. That is a toxic cycle that leads straight to burnout and depression. The first thing I had to do to double my productivity was to kill the snooze guilt. Think about the mental energy you waste every morning beating yourself up for not being a disciplined person. That guilt carries over into your work. You sit down to study or edit a video, and instead of focusing, you're thinking about how you're already 5 hours behind schedule. I realized that the early bird myth was actually a form of procrastination. I spent more time planning my perfect morning than actually doing the work. So I did something radical. I stopped setting the alarm for 5 a.m. I let myself sleep until my body felt rested, which for me was 8:30 a.m. Suddenly, the morning wasn't a battleground. It was just morning. But here's the catch. You can't just sleep in and expect to be productive. You need a low-friction system to bridge the gap between waking up and actually getting into deep work. Most people fail because their morning routine has too many steps. They want to hydrate, journal, work out, and cold shower all before they touch their laptop. That's too much work. By the time you get to the actual task, your willpower is drained. I switched to a 2-step start. Step 1, get out of bed. Step 2, sit at the desk. That's it. No aesthetic journals, no fancy lattes. Just the raw transition from sleep to work. I want you to imagine a day where you don't feel behind. Imagine waking up feeling actually refreshed and knowing exactly what needs to be done. No frantic scrolling to see what you missed. No heart palpitations because you're late. When I moved my start time back, I found that my brain was actually capable of deep work, but I noticed a new problem. Even if I sat down at 9 a.m., my brain would still wander. I'd find myself scrolling TikTok or checking emails, tasks that feel like work but produce 0 results. This is what I call productive procrastination. You're doing things, but you aren't moving the needle. I realized I was suffering from context switching. My brain was trying to do everything at once. I needed a way to lock into one thing and one thing only. This is where the minutes sprint comes in. Instead of trying to work for 8 hours straight, which is impossible for anyone under 25 who grew up on short-form content, I broke my day into intense bursts. I discovered that I could get more done in one focused 90-minute block than I could in 6 hours of fake work at 5 a.m. During this sprint, the phone goes into another room, not face down on the desk, in another room. If you can see your phone, your brain is subconsciously allocating energy to ignoring it. That's energy you need for your creative work or your studies. Once I removed the phone, the deep work state became accessible. But there was still a missing piece to the puzzle. Why was I still feeling drained by 2 p.m.? I discovered the concept of biological prime time. Everyone has a natural peak in energy. For some, it's 10 a.m. For others, it's 11 p.m. I realized I was trying to do my hardest work when my energy was at its lowest. I started tracking my energy levels every hour for a week. I'd rate myself from 1 to 10. What I found shocked me. My peak wasn't in the morning at all. It was between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. By trying to be a morning person, I was wasting my best brain power on mundane tasks like answering emails or cleaning my room. I flipped my schedule. I did the easy stuff in the morning and saved the heavy lifting for my peak hours. Suddenly, the work felt effortless. It didn't feel like I was grinding, it felt like I was flowing. If you're a student, this is your secret weapon. The school system forces us into a 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. box, which is why everyone is exhausted. If you can't change your classes, you have to change how you use your after hours. Instead of coming home and rotting on the couch because you're tired, you need to realize that your second wind is coming. Most people mistake mental fatigue for physical exhaustion. You aren't actually tired. You're just bored and overstimulated from sitting in a classroom all day. I started using a reverse morning routine. Instead of focusing on how I started the day, I focused on how I ended it. I created a shutdown ritual that cleared the mental clutter. I'd write down the 3 most important things for tomorrow and then literally close my laptop. This gave my brain permission to stop thinking about work. Let's talk about the late night loop. We've all been there. It's midnight, you're supposed to be sleeping, but you're stuck in a loop of watching productivity videos. Ironically, probably like this one. You're looking for that hit of dopamine that makes you feel like you're improving without actually doing anything. This is the productivity trap. You're consuming the how-to but never applying the do. I realized that my 5 a.m. failures were happening because I was staying up until 2 a.m. researching how to wake up at 5 a.m. It was a cycle of madness. To break it, I had to accept a hard truth. Discipline isn't a feeling you wait for. It's a system you build when you're feeling good so that it can carry you when you're feeling like garbage. My system became the minimum viable day. On the days when I feel like a total failure, when I wake up late, the weather is gray, and my brain feels like mush, I don't try to be a hero. I just do the minimum viable. Maybe that's just reading 5 pages or editing 1 minute of video. By lowering the bar, I removed the fear of starting. And guess what? Usually once I started the minimum, I'd keep going. The momentum is the medicine. You don't need a 5 a.m. routine to be a high achiever. You just need to stop lying to yourself about how you actually work. You need to stop comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. Think about the most creative people in history. Many of them were night owls. They worked in the quiet hours when the rest of the world was asleep. There is a specific kind of magic that happens at 11 p.m. when the emails stop, the notifications die down, and it's just you and your craft. If that is when you are most productive, why on earth would you try to force yourself to wake up at 5 a.m. to satisfy a TikTok trend, to feel superior to people who are sleeping? Success isn't about when you start. It's about the quality of what you produce. If you produce your best work at 2 a.m., then 2 a.m. is your 5 a.m. The pressure to perform is higher than ever for our generation. We are constantly bombarded with images of 20-year-old millionaires who seemingly have it all figured out. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.